Hey guys, this is Alex, and welcome to the Two Dudes Brews Interviews podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about the classic 1987 action-satire film, Robocop. If you like what you hear, consider subscribing to the podcast, give us a rating, and maybe even tell your friends about us. With that being said, thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
All right, man, we're recording. Let's do this.
All right.
How you been, man?
Well, I kind of had like a mini panic attack like 10 minutes ago, so I'm still recovering from that a
It's
little
all
bit.
good. Hey, it happens to the best of us. Gets me all the time here and there.
Just saying, if my voice isn't projected as much as it usually is, that's why.
You'll be good.
I got to put it there at the beginning.
We'll make our way through. Yeah, man, we're doing a fun one tonight, and I'm super hyped.
We are doing a fun one tonight, but first,
Yeah.
would you like to tell everybody about this beer that I don't think neither of us can pronounce the name of?
I believe it's called Weichenstoffer. I believe it's an Oktoberfest, but it's actually from Germany.
The guy at the liquor store steered us towards this beer. I like it so far.
It's really good.
He was right. It is a lighter Oktoberfest. Second episode in a row that we're drinking an Oktoberfest as well. I like it. I find it interesting on here that it says brewed under the purity law of 1516.
This is the world's oldest brewery, apparently.
Goddamn.
It's Feistbier, or Fistbier. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's very great. It's from Germany. He told us that it's imported in, so he got us to buy it. $13 for a six-pack.
I'm enjoying it so far.
Great. Robocop. Fuck yeah, dude.
Robocop.
It's the best. It's the best. Yeah, have you never saw this movie before?
Last night was the first time that I've ever seen this movie. I had never even seen like bits, like any kind of footage from it. So I didn't know what tone it was going to be. I didn't know like who even played Robocop in the movie. So it was kind of fun going in completely blind for once.
I think I've only seen this movie through like once or twice. I think I've told it before, but like I had a double feature of iRobot and Robocop, and my mom bought this for me and my brother. She was like, "Oh, both these movies are really good. You should watch them." And she's like putting it on and let us walk out of the. She walked out of the living room and probably doing shit around the house, and all was good until about 10 minutes in, where a guy gets fucking obliterated and torn to shreds, and we had to turn it off after that. And we had to go with Will Smith, iRobot, instead.
Oh, man. What a disappointment.
Yeah. I did not kill him. Yeah, fuck off.
I've never seen iRobot.
Oh, my God.
I have no interest.
It's so uncanny. I'm sure for the time it was okay, but I didn't live in that pop culture moment, so I don't know how it was received, but it's okay.
Badly, I think.
Okay, good. Then it holds up to my expectation.
When you recommended this movie, I was fully anticipating walking into it and just getting 80s cheese, like some action schlock, and it ended up being more than that, actually. This is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a while. This movie is fucking hilarious.
Yeah? What was doing it for you?
It seemed like, I mean, there's definitely like a satirical element to everything.
For sure.
I think it's very self-aware of how stupid it is, yet it still takes the story very seriously. And somehow those two things work together in a beautiful way.
I think I was pleasantly surprised by similar elements where the satire was like bleeding through a lot more than I thought it would. And I wasn't expecting that. You know, it's been a long time since I've viewed this through critical eyes, if not ever. So I thought I would go into this enjoying the action for sure. Yeah, like the squibs, and you know I was there for that. But yeah, there were a few things that ended up being kind of poignant and showing through a little bit more. Where like I think the film opens up with the news broadcast.
This was shocking to me, actually.
I think it was a great opening. I don't think news is really like this anymore. Unfortunately, like a lot of it's opinion piece on like our major networks. And we won't go there, but I think kind of like making fun of what the news was at the time was actually pretty cool. Forgive me, but I don't know the anchor that announced Kennedy's death when he was assassinated. But I remember he just says like President Kennedy has been shot, and like that's it. and like he like just takes
Holy
his
shit.
glasses off, and it's not like commentary, you know, like after the fact type of thing. Like I think you would see with, I mean, I'm sure, you know, the news does that after that. Once things get in the news cycle and anchors will comment and all that shit. But just the way these anchors deliver like this horrible world events and like these geopolitical warfare going on.
Completely blank expressions.
Or a smile on their face.
Yes. It's very corporate, this corporate blandness.
And I think this movie makes fun of a lot of like corporate interest, and it was something that I picked up on in like the third act, where I was like, oh wow, I really wasn't expecting it to take that tone, specifically with, I believe his name's Ben. Is that his name in the movie? He's the executive that gets promoted.
He's the one that creates Robocop pretty
Yes.
much. Yeah, okay.
Where, you know, the bathroom scene, you know, stuff like that where yeah, it's fucking hilarious. He's a fucking pussy. He's on his way out, that old geezer. Yeah, man. That shit was great. And there was like great commentary on the fact that at the end of the day, like the thunder that he steals from the vice president, it was never supposed to really work. It was about making long-term financial, like military interest deals.
Yes.
Whether it was effective or not.
This was all very unexpected to me too. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that it's like a super complex disassembling of this thing, but it's not what I expected in a movie called Robocop.
I think those moments, they are that like B-roll footage or like your cooler moments, like the news anchors and the executive shit. All that stuff is like allowing the squibs to relax for a minute and the explosions to chill, and it's kind of making its point in these small little ways throughout the film. I mean, the movie's only like, what, an hour and 40?
Barely. Yeah. Dude, it's a quick 90 minutes almost. You can get in, you get the point, and then you get out. And I love that.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. Not every fucking movie has to be 2.5 hours long.
Yes. But the ones that work the best, you appreciate that they are that long.
But it's that everybody thinks they can make a 2.5 hour movie nowadays.
Correct. I mean, that's a minimum for the most part these days.
Oh, Jesus.
And it at least 2 hours, I think. I don't think I've seen a movie that's not a children's movie that doesn't reach that mark anymore.
I recently watched the movie Bodies, and that was exactly 90 minutes long. And it was fantastic for that reason.
Good pace.
Like, you get the point, and then it ends.
I think I had this conversation with my brother and my stepdad, I think, because we were talking about when Batman came out in February. Can't believe that movie came out this year.
It feels like an eternity ago. God, that was 3 hours long.
Yep. But my point was, I was thankful that movie was that long because it's a Batman film and it was done well. You know, I mean, I love that movie. I've only seen it twice, and I mean, I think it's enough for 1 year, but I was pleased by the fact that I got to sit there for 3 hours and watch a good, I mean, it wasn't even, if it weren't for the suit, it wouldn't have been a Batman film. I mean, it was
like a David Fincher movie.
Correct.
For the most
I mean,
part.
it was, yeah. I mean, it was, that's a great way to put it. I mean, it fell into like Zodiac playbook, like film noir, thriller mystery, but it was covered up by a cape and cowl, you know. It was great, and I appreciated that. And you know, and its moments that I actually loved the most were the moments with the least action. You know, I thought the third act, when spoiler, but like when the Riddler and his minions, you know, all that shit at the arena.
It's not the best part of the movie.
No, it was my least favorite part. I thought that's when the movie got corny. Working through that last 20 minutes, I was like, you were losing me a little bit.
Yeah, that's how I feel about most movies that like will pack a bunch of action into like the final half an hour.
You talked about it for earlier when we were eating, like about Looper. That whole film's pretty slow for the most part. I mean, it has its moments, don't get me wrong, but
It's a nice sci-fi drama, and then it's Bruce Willis action.
for 15 minutes, yeah, and he's mowing people down. I mean, it's a little out of the wheelhouse for that film up until that point. We got to get back on track, but the fact that this film was an hour and a half, it got a lot done, in my opinion.
And this movie is actually like the opposite of what we were just talking about, where it's almost nonstop action throughout the whole thing, and I don't mind one bit because each scenario that the movie presents is either you've got effects to marvel at, or there's like an amazing corniness about a certain scene. Like, I appreciated all of that stuff.
Speaking of corniness, the henchmen are like servants of Satan with the amount of evil wrapped up in them. I mean, they're on like the psychopath level of evil and some. I mean, God, it's like they have like no sense of like moral compass.
No, they have one goal, and they go towards that goal for the whole movie.
Yep. There's no nuance with them.
And I didn't mind one bit. Mm-hmm. I thought that the gang of villains in this movie were actually one of the more memorable out of like cheesy action.
I remember
films that
all
I've
their
seen.
faces.
Same
all
here.
the faces.
They all had like a little bit of their own thing.
There was like your stereotypical like Italian, like almost like mob bossy, but he was like kind of like felt like secondhand to old Red. What's the actor's name?
Kurtwood Smith.
Yeah, from that '70s show he plays.
Red Foreman.
Yep. He does kind of have that maniacal, mischievous voice that I think really fit the role.
I can't believe I've never seen him be a villain in anything else. Mm-hmm. Like he seems made for this.
Correct.
Absolutely.
He kind of fits that role where like Gary Oldman used to play a couple villains earlier in his career, and then he ended up turning into more of a
character drama actor. Yeah, he used to ham it the fuck up back in the day.
Uh-huh. Was he in Leon the Professional?
That's what we were talking about.
And he was in Air Force One with, Indiana Jones.
Harrison Ford,
thank you. Jesus.
Gary Oldman was in the Robocop remake.
Yes, he was.
That came out a few years ago.
Yep.
Haven't you seen that?
I have. I saw it in theaters, and it has our boy Ranger Rick from Suicide Squad.
Rick Flag, yeah.
Rick Flag. Yeah. Fuck yeah, Rick Flag.
Joel Kinnaman. Yeah.
I hated him in that movie so much. Although I will say there was a very compelling scene in that film that like sticks with me to this day, and I remember the most from that film.
Really? I've heard that one misses the tone of the 80s one.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I think it was made in 2012, I want to say, or 2014.
I think it's 14.
Yeah, 14. Michael Keaton is in it. He plays like our Red Foreman type of character.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
And you might like it, actually. Gary Oldman was really great in that, too. I mean, his tone, though, in that film, it feels like he's ripped straight from the Dark Knight trilogy, or like he's yelling at Batman as he exits.
Oh,
type of stuff. It's not terrible.
I heard it's PG-13, though.
Yeah, it is.
You can't neuter.
No. It needed the violence, for sure.
Oh, yeah?
I do think it would have changed a lot, though. There was like a wife and kid angle that played a huge role compared to this film. This film, they're completely abandoned. You know, it's like remnants.
And I was fine with that.
I was hoping while watching the film that they would not come into play, because I was thinking to myself, if they start playing a role this late in the film, I'm going to feel like it's going to miss a mark somewhere.
You get the idea that that's probably his next goal.
Correct.
But you don't need a wrapping up at the end.
There was a moment of reflection, and that was fine. It was right before, it was like the third act slump. It was right before the action, and that was perfect. But in the remake, there was a specific scene. Rick Flag, I'm going to call him Rick Flag. Fucking Christ. He has a moment, he gets to see himself in the mirror with all the parts stripped away, and he's literally heart, lung, you can see his esophagus. Like it's fucking disgusting. And it sticks with me to this day because he's having like this horrific, almost like fever dreamy real life nightmare. He's getting to look at just his lungs and his heart beating, and it was animated really well, actually,
really
for the time. And he's begging for him to end his life. And that was the only thing I really remember about that film. And it does take a different way or different route, where he gets a program uploaded into him, similar to the Robocop of this film, but he has like a split. I'm conscious and aware, and then there's program operation. It's a little too sappy.
Okay. This movie was very basic at the way it approached that. And I think it was fine that the main basis of the movie was like him like regaining his humanity, but you're right, they don't get sappy with it. Like he's still a murderous man on a mission by the end of it.
And I think those moments where he does gain back his humanity were done really well. Like little breadcrumbs laid out by other characters, by happenstance, or it was against the will of the executives. I enjoyed that, where I think those moments were really engaging. Like looking through the lens of what he sees, that was being overlaid throughout the entire film, like the graininess of like a VCR.
I was not expecting this because you get that surgery scene where they're, I guess, like trying to like resuscitate him, and the lights go out, and then the next time he opens his eyes is when it's through that video camera lens. It took its time to just hang out in that POV for a while, like where there's like a couple months pass and like all the scientists are celebrating New Year's. Like I loved that.
It's a great sequence. Dude, if that was done today, it would be beloved. You know what I mean? And it does take its time to air out, and you get a lot of great information. The amount of time passing, like the grid lines being laid over, and a mechanic or like one of the quote unquote like surgeons like install his screen, and that thing comes down with the screwing in. I mean, that's not how you screw in. I mean, it wouldn't be that smooth, but
Yeah.
it was really well done. The overlaying of him recording and replaying things on top of his vision were really smart. When he meets our bandit and at the gas station, like
Yeah.
that stuff's really smart. Do you know that the actor, Peter Weller, that plays Robocop, was originally supposed to be played by Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, I read about this a little bit today, and they didn't do it because Schwarzenegger would have looked too bulky in the Robocop suit, and I'm sure that would have been like really tough, like in terms of costume design, to make something that would fit a man that big.
He wouldn't fit in the car.
No,
I mean, the Robocop in this film barely fits in the car as it is.
that's true.
I mean, he's at like Schwarzenegger's size in the suit. You know what I mean? Like he is that big.
Yes. When this movie first started, I was a little bit worried at first when we get introduced to like the human form of Murphy, because I thought his performance was like kind of wooden and bad as we're getting through this like first act, and I was like, oh man, this is our main character, like this is lame. We don't spend that much time with him. He gets blasted away like in the first 20 minutes.
Very ceremoniously blasted away.
Oh my god.
I have my comment for that too, and I think the best way to put it is he delivers a very robotic performance. So it works pretty well. You forget about it pretty fast. So
That's true. It was only distracting in human form.
God, I don't know if it was just because they didn't spend enough time with that dialogue and practice with it enough, but the female cop, Louise, is her name, I believe?
I think it's Anne Lewis.
Okay, Lewis.
Do they call her Louise? I don't even remember.
No, they referred to her as her last name as a cop, Lewis. She's great.
Yeah, I thought she was good.
And our executive is great. He's fucking awesome.
We're talking about our main CEO villain.
Not he's great too. There was one moment where I was really pulled out, but the guy that makes him, the guy that oversees his operation, basically.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
I've seen this guy in other 80s movies, and he always plays corporate, sleazy executive.
Let's see. His name is Miguel Ferrer. He plays Bob Morton. I thought he was really, really good. He gives that good Coke energy. It comes across the screen really well.
It was a very 80s performance. That's for sure.
Yeah.
This, just the fact that we're like going into a factory where they're producing cocaine and everything, and it's like this movie is so 80s all the way through.
Oh yeah. All of our black characters have their prior mustache. That was like very reminiscent of the time.
Yeah.
Like Sergeant Reed, our police chief. He has a great mustache, and I think even the other henchman has it. But how did you feel about soundtrack? Because this is something that I don't think was mixed extremely well for the most part.
It was too loud at certain points. Is that what you're getting at?
It was really quiet at others. It was kind of frustrating to me.
I don't think I really noticed the score until the part where he gets to like his old house and he's walking through and he's like kind of reliving the memories of his prior life. That's when I noticed the soundtrack, and it was incredibly loud right there.
Also, yeah, that's definitely a negative in that moment, but I think a great thing that this film does 80 to 90% of the time is really great world building. This specific scene, it kind of shows you maybe how houses will be for sale. It's open house all the time. You walk in and a screen gives you a tour. Yeah, I thought that was pretty smart.
I could totally see that.
Like the little kiosk was definitely of the time for sure. I mean, having like a little VCR like TV on a pedestal. But I think it was really smart. And then I think another couple moments were like when the executives were leaving the boardroom and they would go down that elevator and you got to kind of see the scale of this building and kind of how complex it's supposed to be.
With an amazing matte painting used right here. Yes.
I love stuff like that. I think there was a few moments where I wanted more because a lot of these hard cuts were between little moments like that and then you pull into a parking lot at the police station where I kind of feel like there was a little bit of separation. And I know that's kind of maybe not be a big deal because it's supposed to kind of show class separation. Like these guys are down on like ground zero. They're on the front lines. And like then you have like these people that are living more comfortable, luxurious lives. The bathroom at the executive lounge. And then you got like the shitty ass locker room of this worn down police station. I enjoyed stuff like that. I kind of missed the mark a little bit. I thought the police cars needed a little bit more done to them. They look like they've been spray painted almost, like this flat black.
I think that's what they did too. I'm pretty sure. I read about this today, and I wish I could like recall some of the info, but they did use like a brand new car at the time, and this model isn't used in police cars. I mean, most police cars from that era were like Crown Vics. Every police station had Crown Vics. You know, it didn't really take me out of the movie though. I didn't think about it like that.
There were a few times when the light would hit the car in a weird way, and I almost could see like a paint job that wasn't done perfectly, like the body panels were a little off. That bothered me a little bit.
It should also be said that you watched an HD version of this movie.
You did not.
I did not. I picked up a DVD from a used like media store. I can't remember what this is called, but it was when I watched it on my flat screen last night. It was like a tiny square in the middle of the TV screen. Like it didn't take up the whole thing.
That's kind of fucking awesome.
It was kind of fucking awesome. So I didn't get that fine level of detail visually.
Yeah, mine filled up the entire screen. I mean, like it was a widescreen. I don't even know. It might have been full screen, but
and you know that I'm a subtitles guy too, and those weren't even available on this DVD.
That's awesome.
So it was
stripped down.
I was struggling.
Was there any trailers beforehand, or was it just straight to title screen play?
No title screen even.
Oh, I just hopped in
straight to the movie.
That's fucking awesome. That's fucking cool. We've come a long way.
One of my favorite things about the movie is that once Robocop is established, we actually get to see him solve crime for like 15 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Where I think in a modern movie, we would hop right into the end of the world plot. Here's the big bad. In this one, he saves like a couple working at a gas station, and then he like stops a rape from happening. Like these small little moments that matter a lot. They're fun, like little vignettes too, in a way.
And they actually push the story forward. Like specifically, the gas station was big, and I think the rape was actually supposed to be more of like a comedic gag. Of course, he shoots the guy in the dick between her skirt because his tracking, his aim is perfect. Yeah, I mean it happens really fast too. I mean it's only like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I mean it's pretty quick. But I love that interaction at the gas station between the clerk and our goon.
They give a little bit of like character to this bit-sized character, basically. He's like reading a geometry book, and he's like just a college student trying to get by. I don't know, things like that matter. They don't have to be generic background person that gets saved.
The explosion was intense, though.
Holy shit!
I was like, where's the clerk? Is he okay? I'm like, he couldn't have got away that fast.
He was just charred to the building.
Yeah, I mean, probably, if that's what happened.
They never said that Robocop was a good law enforcement officer. I mean, he does punch that politician directly out the window in that one scene after he's basically already apprehended.
What's the movie with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell? Is it The Nice Guys or The Other Guys?
The Other Guys. Both good movies.
They have a moment in that film where they're like, "Oh, cool guys, this is impossible. They can't walk away from explosions because it like burns their backs and like blows their eardrums out." Like, yeah, man, it's a classic trope.
And this movie fully embraces its tropes. I don't know if we've said yet, but the line delivery by Robocop is so fucking funny. Every time he opens his mouth, where he says like, "Thank you for cooperating. Good night. I will get you in contact with a rape crisis center."
Yeah. Classic. I think a lot of the film after he becomes Robocop is basically people talking to a brick wall most of the time, which actually is I mean it's not a bad thing, and it's done well. You're getting more of like side character the building up of those characters around RoboCop a little bit more because of that. Like Lewis, she knows it's Murphy because of the way he holsters his gun. I think that was pretty smart.
It's clever,
and
yeah.
it was quick when it happened too. You can miss it if you're not paying attention for it. But the way he holsters his gun at the shooting range was the tell. And there's very little attention brought to it, like outside the visual cue. There's no sound cue. There's it just is what it is. And I find that pretty smart. God damn it, the RoboCop suit, it fucking holds up. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it fucking holds up.
I agree. Actually, I thought it looked great.
There was a few moments where I was like trying to figure out like, okay, where does his body start and where does the suit begin? I was trying to figure that out just based on like the anatomy of a person inside that suit and like the way he walks. Like it kind of looked like he had two asses on the outside of him. But for the most part, it worked pretty well. I thought, and I think the suit was designed well to where it kind of holds up. It wasn't like too gimmicky. You know, he's got basically Power Ranger shoulder pads and a pair of armored legs and a helmet. That's it, really.
I have to praise his performance in the suit too, because he gets the robotic movements down perfectly. When he reaches the end of a hallway and he like basically makes like a 90-degree turn, that's where I think his performance shined through, was through physical mannerisms and whatnot.
And yeah, and the stuff with him having that dream sequence while in the chair was really great, I thought. And I think it's echoed similarly. It's very similar when he goes to the vice president's office near the end of the film. It's a really good job. You know, he's conveying what it would be like a computer to fight against its programming in a way. I almost completely missed that Directive 4. It was on his UI system through his screen.
At like the very beginning of the movie almost.
I almost completely forget about it.
I caught that and I wrote it down in my notes. I just put Directive 4 like because I was trying to remember it for later in the movie. And I actually found that it was a clever twist that he was physically unable to arrest the man that like created him for the most part.
Which was really smart. It's a good plot device. And I thought it does tie back into like corporate interest. Similar to politics. You know, you can't arrest the person that's the cause of the problem. You got to have your scapegoats and the law only protects those who make them and those that have cash type of thing. I enjoyed that shit. I think this movie holds up because of that. You know, I don't know that this film would work as well if it took like more of a linear path and didn't have more social commentary. I mean, it's so minor, but I think the fact that it does take the small amount of time to make those comments like gives the film really good staying power for that reason. Because like the same problems that we have today were apparent back then, and they'll be apparent in the future. And I think that helps make this film like a classic in that way.
Can I just say that I was legit surprised by the twist in the second act where it's revealed that Red Foreman works for the CEO guy.
I was surprised too. I didn't know. I completely forgot that part.
I honestly just thought that these were two separate villains that he had to deal with. And when it comes together like that in the end, in a great scene where he shoots him in the... I'm having a hard time remembering.
Him in the legs. Yeah, he shoots him in the legs a couple times and then kneecaps. And blows his house up with a grenade. That was cool. And that was an overdone grenade. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Melts that house.
And I love how Kurtwood Smith is polite enough to slowly walk out of the house and close the door behind him. Like, it's these great little corny things that it gives the movie so much charm.
What was really smart with that is that towards the end of the film, after that twist is revealed, you do get a moment of them having like a little impromptu meeting between Kurtwood Smith and the executive. I'll pull up his name real fast so we can refer to him as somebody.
I don't know why I'm blanking on names so hard tonight.
It's hard. It's difficult. These are not like well-known actors, the vast majority of the film.
These aren't well-known characters either.
He plays Dick Jones.
Dick Jones. Okay.
Ronny Cox is his name. He plays Dick Jones. When Dick Jones and Kurtwood have that conversation about the whole goal was to get crime off the streets, and then they could start building basically new Detroit, essentially. They're going to make Detroit great again type of thing.
Yeah.
And he says,
like,
you're going to need
military weaponry. Is that what you're talking about?
Talking about someone's going to have drugs and prostitution to supply to all these people working in trailers, all these construction guys. And who's going to be that source? You know, ropes him right back in after he was pissed that he got the shit knocked out of him by RoboCop. That was another small thing. Like, another great commentary on like how deep these deals go with like politicians and executives, and really smart. You know, it's all about money, whether it looks good on paper. You know, there's nefarious intent behind it.
He says to Dick Jones, "Can we get military weaponry?" And Dick Jones says, "We're basically like we are the military."
Yeah. Which, weird side note, never played this game, but we were talking about Call of Duty before the podcast started, and we had kind of mentioned like how stale those games are, and they're still making them. People have been saying that for the last 10 years, but nothing new here. But the Call of Duty Infinity War, Kevin Spacey plays the Dick Jones character, where they're private military, and they essentially become the military.
I did not know this was a thing.
Well, I mean, it's a commentary on like Raytheon, like all these like essentially these companies that are just made for military contracts. You know what I mean? They're these private companies that are made for military use.
That's kind of explored in District 9.
Yep. Same premise, like the people that sign the paper are also the people pulling the trigger type of mentality. I just think that it gives this film really great staying power, and it's applicable to today. You know, with like we're in the middle of a global geopolitical event with like the Ukraine war. Somebody's sending them guns, and it happens to be us, and it's like we're sanctioning a war. You know, whether we think our intent is good or not. That's not my opinion, but I mean it is a fact. I mean, we are giving weapons to one side. You know, we're not taking a neutral stance, and somebody's benefiting from that. Somebody somewhere is benefiting from the fact that we are giving the Ukrainians guns. Somebody's bank is getting a little bit bigger because of that. Just something to think about.
I think your average viewer would completely miss out on the satirical elements like that. I think that when they were making this, or in the process of making it, nobody believed in the project. I think the title alone had most of the actors thinking like, yeah, this is a stupid thing. It's amazing that it turns out as well as it did. I think the director, I want to say his name is Paul Verhoeven.
I believe so, yes.
And he's done other stuff like Starship Troopers and Total Recall, Basic Instinct. His first language is not English, so when the writers of this movie sent him the script, he didn't understand the satire, and they had to like do multiple rewrites for him to get it. I just found stuff like that very interesting.
Do you know they're making a Robocop game?
Like right now they're making one?
Like a new one.
I knew there was one in 2003 for the Xbox. I did not know there was a new one.
There's one being developed right now. It's supposed to be like first person. Peter Weller, like I think, came to.
Is he doing voice acting for it?
I think so.
Fuck yeah.
I think so. I believe that's the case.
The original writers of this movie are writing a direct sequel to the original Robocop right now that ignores Robocop 2, 3, and the remake.
I wanted to get into this because I think that this film suffers from the blockbuster hype and the success of the time,
where they pumped out 2 or 3 like meaningless sequels.
Supposed to be, they're going to be terrible. You know, I think this movie has like it's in the 90s on Rotten Tomato, like audience and critic, rightfully so. But
and the second one's got like a 30%
and like 15 or something on the third one, and it does like it. You ever seen Gremlins 2?
I have not actually.
It plays into the same playbook. We're going to have more robots, and they're all going to have their own unique thing. And Gremlins is like, there's Key and Peele does a really good bit on it on the Key and Peele show.
Do they really?
They have somebody come into the writer's room and spice up Gremlins too. It is the funniest fucking shit because they lay out these outlandish ideas, and it's what is actually in the film. I'll show it to you after the podcast. It's fucking hilarious. God, it's fucking... I wish they don't taint shit like that. You know what I mean? I think Terminator was great.
Yeah,
we both love Terminator.
The first one is awesome.
And Terminator 2 is beloved as well. And then slowly over time, they just get fucking worse and worse and worse. Like I think I saw Terminator Genesis.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I don't know why, but I have.
Is that the one with like Christian Bale in it?
No, that's Salvation, and that's got I've seen that one too. That's got it's got our Jake Sully and Christian Bale. Like I can't remember that actor's name from Avatar, but he's in that.
Why do these movies always have the title of the movie, like a semicolon, and then like a random name? Salvation, Judgment Day, Genesis, and they mean nothing. Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Crisis. Yeah, you just put a fucking omniscient adjective on the end of something.
I don't know what order these films go in. Just put a big number at the end. Terminator 4. Just do that.
I mean, can you think of a long-lasting franchise that all the movies live up to the first one's hype? I mean, I'm having a hard time. I mean,
no.
Outside of like a book series that gets adapted, like Harry Potter, or you know what I mean? It's hard.
Usually 2 movies is the limit.
Yeah.
For most of these.
Like I worry about Avatar now. I mean,
Well,
I
yeah.
don't even think Avatar is like perfect by it. You know, we already did that, but it's like how far will they go, and how much money will they dump into something until it stops working? Like I don't even know if the first one worked that well, but it was fucking beautiful. I mean, and for the time it was great. But in this second one, looks like it's gonna do the same playbook. It's gonna be a step up in technology, but I don't know if the story is gonna be as compelling.
I'm waiting for the reviews on that one when it does come out.
I'll fucking see it opening weekend if I have to. I want to know. I want to see
Really?
it. I want to know. There isn't films that just they don't keep it. I mean, I can't think of any. Of course,
Godfather 1 and 2 are beloved. Godfather 3, everybody hates.
fuck.
Aliens 3, everybody hates it.
There are like great Marvel movies, but then there are ones that you fucking hate and that are just fucking terrible. Like Thor: Dark World's terrible.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
The most recent Doctor Strange,
Mid.
yeah. We talked about this too, and I think I had a hot take when it first came out, but like Spider-Man, most recent Spider-Man,
You said it would age badly when we initially talked about that.
and I don't mean it was a bad movie, but I just think now that the hype has run through the pop culture, it's like I have no desire to like come back to that movie.
I agree with you. It's my least favorite of the new trilogy.
Yeah, I that's what I'm thinking. Like when I think of those movies and I want to go back and watch one, I would want to watch like the first or the second one. Like that's what I want.
Yep.
Like those are the best ones. Those little standalone stories. It's not like this big punched up thing. And like don't get me wrong, it was fucking awesome to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire on the screen with Tom Holland. It was fucking great. But now I'm like,
The shine has worn off.
yeah. It becomes like just this ensemble thing. Same with like Infinity War and Endgame. They're fucking awesome when they first come out and you get to like see all these characters together in this one big, long, amazing conclusion to an epic run. And it's like, I don't want to watch them again. I already know what happens. The buildup is over. But they made their money, don't get me wrong. I mean, they got us. That's what it's about, but
For most things, especially like a movie with Robocop, one and done.
I think it's a one thing to like have the box office draw and have the hype and it be loved when it, in the first 2 to 3 weeks when it comes out. But like, does it stay and is it loved in the hearts of like a fan base for a long period of time where you can throw it on and feel like you're in that moment again when you first saw it? You know what I mean? And not to say like Marvel and all, other films don't have their niche. You know what I mean? They don't like. It's not to say that they don't have their fan bases that are like they love them. But like, will it bring the audience, like the general audience, back to? And will it be considered a classic or? You know what I mean?
Rarely not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's just a thought. Marvel movies get talked about too much because everybody's tired of them right now, and I think we need that next thing. Those pop culture, those pops. How do you put it? Like the buzz surrounding media and film. I think a lot of that's like turned over into like TV shows and series. And
That's true.
you're able to do a lot more now these days. I mean, studios invest a lot of money into great television series or, direct to streaming series like subscription services.
You
I'm
know
okay
what?
with that too.
Good.
You can do a lot more now than you ever could, 10 to 15 years ago when it comes to TV series. You have the money and the resources and the creative ideas to expand upon kind of these things that would get like knocked down by ABC or, you know what I mean?
How do I say this? TV is so niche now that there's something for everybody and it's all movie quality.
Yep. It's got the same amount of investment money into it.
And good. I enjoy that.
I think what I want the most out of TV series these days is I want new IPs. I think Game of Thrones did that the last 5 to 6 years when it had its run, and it got that. And it was same with Breaking Bad. And I don't think Better Call Saul got the amount of love that Breaking Bad did which I think it's deserving of it. I think that anybody that's seen Breaking Bad should give Better Call a chance. I think you should watch at least the first 3 seasons. If you aren't hooked by then you are in the wrong territory. But it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. I think Stranger Things is doing that. It's
like the phenomenon right now. TV will saturate itself eventually, though. It will become spin-offs and then spin-offs to the spin-offs. And then we'll be in the same camp as we are with movies. And then maybe at that point, movies will start to become original again. You know, it's a cycle.
My favorite movies right now are like A24 films. And, you know, and
that's where you get your weird shit.
But it's the most compelling.
Exactly.
And it's the stuff that sticks with you. It's not like Top Gun Maverick was great, but I'll never watch it again. And it was like, it was a big blockbuster and it was great, but I have no desire to go back to that.
Yeah. We are so off the rails right now, by the way.
It's all right. We kind of missed our mark. I don't know why I had to rant so bad, but
we've ranted about Marvel a few times, I think. It's either Marvel or Disney. I know they're the same, but
they're the same, yeah.
We've done it a few times.
I just love good cinema, and I want it to stay good, and I wish more people would watch great shit.
And God damn it, Robocop is good cinema, in my opinion.
It's good. I'm not saying that not everybody loves this movie. I've never met somebody that has not loved this film.
They've either seen it and love it, or they haven't seen it and they say it sounds stupid.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And that's how I felt before I watched it. We haven't really talked about like standout scenes or anything. Like the boardroom scene is awesome. I think it's hilarious that multiple characters are completely riddled with bullets on multiple occasions, and there's like still hope of them living.
Yeah.
In the boardroom scene, this guy is shot 200 times, and after it's over, someone says, "Someone call a goddamn paramedic." I'm like, I don't think that'll be necessary.
And you kind of mentioned it earlier when Alex Murphy dies and they're trying to resuscitate him. I don't know that he's still alive. And I think what's happening is, at least the way I perceive the film,
they have to make the attempt.
They have to make the attempt to, you know, resuscitate him, even though everybody knows that he's most likely dead. I mean, the guy pours out enough blood out of his blown off hand to kill a man.
Yeah.
You know? and I don't know if it's a thing of accuracy or just for the film to go haywire with it. But
I mean, we've got 5 thugs with shotguns shooting him at point blank range, and then he gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
It's so gratuitous.
I think what's happening, the way I perceived it is that his brain is still firing. Like his neurons are still firing.
It's enough to save that aspect of him.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've already talked about it briefly, but like the fact that he's like kind of discovering himself, rediscovering his humanity. But I think the film does a really great job of separating that from like what ends up happening in the 2014 remake, is that they give like too much time focus on the humanity. And in this film, it kind of feels like all hope is lost already, and he's now just like a shell.
Yeah,
and there really is no human left in him. It's really just a matter of the machine has become aware.
It's just enough for him to go on this revenge mission.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's still supposed to uphold the law, and you know, just happenstance, you know, he's gonna get to the bottom of the guys that killed him. And I think the movie does a great job of separating that out, because diving too deep into humanity, like having him sit out next to a goose on the park bench, trying to figure out who he is in life as a half man, half machine, would be a little too much. Mm-hmm. You know, give me 2 minutes of reflection. That's fine.
You know, David Cronenberg was one of the people that was supposed to direct this movie. Are you familiar with him at all?
I don't think so.
He did stuff like The Fly. He's kind of known for doing body horror movies. And this movie does have body horror elements.
Oh my God, yeah, he did.
When Robocop takes off the helmet eventually, and it's just like this skin, like
stretched over whatever it is.
Yeah. The henchman that gets driven into the toxic waste towards the end. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie.
I know you would love it. I knew going in that you would love that part.
Yeah. That was one of the highlights for me. And the thug's performance of like him like gasping and wheezing, him exploding on the windshield.
Oh my God, dude.
I guess when they did test screenings for this movie, the henchman getting run over by the car and exploding received the most laughs by audiences. And I'm like, these are my people.
Yeah, they are. You fucked up individuals. Yeah, dude. His like bone of his index finger is pointing out, like his skin is melted off his hand.
These are awesome effects.
Oh my God. I don't like it, but I knew you'd love it.
It's disgusting, but they did something.
It's really good. The fact that when he gets hit by the car, it looks like somebody's going through a goddamn car wash. Like it's like some sort of green, pinkish fluid. It's not really blood.
They used raw chicken, soup, and gravy as the special effects. This is what I was most interested in when I was reading about it.
How do squibs work? Is it like just like blood packets that are like primed with like air pressure or something?
I don't know.
I'd be curious to know.
I read that they can be painful when they go off, and the guy that gets shot in the boardroom scene had 200 squibs attached to him, and they interviewed the guy after the making of the movie, and he said that each squib going off feels like being punched in the stomach, and he had to endure it about 100 times.
I'm looking at them, and it looks like they look like little beads with like tape wrapped around them. They're on wires, and they look like little sticky bombs. I mean, they're pressurized. I mean, I imagine it's about the force of like a blank going off. I mean, to be able to emit that type of pressure to push out of somebody's clothing. You know what I mean?
That would suck. They look great, though.
Yeah, they do. God damn.
Bring back squibs in movies.
Yeah, what
For
the
the
fuck?
love of God. CGI blood does not work.
Did Django have squibs, I would imagine?
I guarantee they did. Those squibs were like twice the size of like a normal one. Like the blood in
Oh
that
my
movie
God.
is gratuitous as well.
They had people flicking paintbrushes on the outside of sets, like putting walls.
I enjoy how many people get thrown through glass in this movie.
The old slow-mo glass
This is another thing. Breakaway glass. A lost art.
Yeah, what's funny about this type of film, unfortunately, it's not used these days. And if it is, it's almost like homage or parody. That sucks.
I want to see it done like legit.
I don't know, though. Like, practical effects are somewhat of a dying art. You can do so much now on a computer. And you know what the thing is? It's cheap for studios, for the manpower. And it's unfortunate.
I don't care about their money. I want to laugh at the screen when I watch something. God damn it.
It will become a thing, I'm sure. There will be a lane that someone takes. A director will make that choice. I think part of it, though, the cameras are different these days. Those effects might be harder to cover up.
That's true. I still don't care, though.
Yeah.
I still don't care.
I think part of the problem is that you'd have to go so rudimentary on so many aspects of a film to be able to achieve that now and make it a highlight and make it not look cheap. I think that's the hard part to get around. But there are plenty of films that you and I have not seen. I'm sure do a great job of
course,
over the top violence and grotesque horror, and they have their place, and they're fucking awesome.
They do have their place. I understand.
I don't have too much more to say. I'm sure there are a couple more things that we've missed over.
I love how fast this movie wraps up.
Yeah, doesn't he just fucking kill him and then it's over?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
He shoots, God, what's his name? Dick Jones through the glass. You get this hilarious mini shot of the black CEO like give a thumbs up because he knows that he's moving up in this company.
Yeah, he does.
And I think the old man, who I think is credited as just being the old man, like the top
he's
guy.
He's referred to as the old man.
He says, "That's some slick shooting. What's your name? Murphy." Bam, cut to credits. It's just right there.
God, it's so of the time.
I laughed out loud when it cut to credits that fast.
Because I think it just hops in and just says like Robocop or something.
It does.
Like a Robocop.
And like that might be a gag on its own. This could have been intentional comedy. I thought it was funny.
But it fucking works. I mean, even if it isn't, it's like, it could be a little bit of this, could be a little bit of that, and that's good, man. That's what you want. When you look at a film, 40, 50 years later, you're like, yeah, I mean, this is you can't really tell where the lines blend. How self-aware, we think as ourselves in the future, like, oh, we know so much more than people did 30 years ago, which might be true to an extent, but it's like they weren't not self-aware back then either.
I think aside from like small shit that I could bring up, that's all I really have to say. I mean, there's like funny lines of dialogue and some mini little scenes, like Robocop going to the club and he knocks the gun out of the guy's hand, and like a random club goer catches it and just keeps dancing. Like shit like that's funny. It's hard to litter little mini things like that into the convo.
The movie's so quick. It's so charming. And that's what I wanted. And I wanted to have fun and take it easy. We did a lot of serious stuff for a couple weeks. And I want to chill.
And believe me, I did have so much fun watching this movie. This was awesome.
Told your wife that she missed out on watching it.
She refused. She did not want anything to do with this movie. And I think she might appreciate it if she saw it.
Oh, it's her loss for sure.
I will preach the words of Robocop everywhere I go from now on.
Good. If it comes to ratings for me, I just think I'm going to go ahead and just say it's a 10 out of 10. I don't know how to categorize the film outside of like just having a good time. And it does that. And I think it's fair enough to just say it's got its staying power. It had really good commentary. It was really brief. The movie's quick. The movie's violent. The movie's funny. Great special effects. Yeah, it's fucking perfect. I don't know. It lies somewhere between parody and perfection, and that's fine. And so I think 10 out of 10 is perfectly suitable for this film.
I pretty much agree with you on everything you said. I appreciate that this movie is such a weird blend of genres where we have sci-fi, drama, action, dark comedy / satire. It's really commendable that they were able to fit that all naturally into what is barely over a 90-minute movie. I'm not going to quite go with a 10, although I feel like it probably deserves it. I was going to go with a strong 9. So I'm almost there. I think the fact that I watched it for the first time in the last 24 hours makes it harder to like brand it with a perfect score. But I enjoyed it so much. Something like this would never be made again, unfortunately. But yeah, I think a very strong 9 out of 10 from me.
Good. I'm comfortable with both of our ratings.
Piss break.
I eagerly anticipate. You've been saving this one in the. You've had this one loaded up in the chamber, ready to shoot me down. So I'm ready for it.
I feel like the last few times that it's been my turn to recommend something, I've done these like Hail Marys where I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Bookie Nights, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, I've just thrown them out there. This one I've had planned for a while. We are in October, and I think it's kind of been an established tradition, by me at least, that I like to do one horror movie a year. 2 years ago, we did Psycho, our first official episode, I believe. And then last year, we did The Thing. I was kind of drawing from the classics with those two, but we're doing a newer one this time. So here's my white boy spiel, if you're ready for it. From the director of Call Me By Your Name comes a remake of a 1977 Italian horror movie by director Dario Argento. This came out in 2018. It stars Mia Goth, Dakota Johnson, and Tilda Swinton in 3 different roles.
What?
The soundtrack is done by Tom York, and the movie is titled Suspiria.
Yeah, I would never have guessed this.
I know you wouldn't have. This came out in 2018, and it was a very divisive movie. It doesn't have great reviews. It doesn't have great audience scores either. I watched it last month, and I found it interesting at the very least. I don't know if either of us will love it, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Do you know anything about the movie?
No.
It's about witches that run a dance school.
Okay. Is this the plot of Black Swan or something?
It honestly reminds me a lot of Black Swan.
Okay.
It's kind of an art house Italian-style horror movie. There's like dark comedy in there, and it's fucking weird. We'll have criticisms, and
this is going to be a, what's it called? I'm thinking of ending things podcast.
Not quite. This movie makes a little bit more sense than that one.
Okay.
I don't know. For some reason, ever since I saw it, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Tilda Swinton in 3 roles. Okay. Hey,
And
she's great. Okay.
And you can try to identify what those 3 roles are.
Okay.
Because 2 of them are almost unrecognizable.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Suspiria.
Okay. 2018, not 1977.
Okay. I thought you might load up a Halloween-themed film. I thought you were going to do OG Halloween. Another Halloween film is coming out this year. It's supposed to be like the end.
Yeah.
For the 10th time, but
I don't know if there's enough to dismantle with the original Halloween. It's such a simple movie.
Yeah.
I love it, but
I've only seen a handful of like those slasher classics, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I don't know if you would call Scream a slasher, but it lives up to the classics.
It's slasher satire.
God, that's my favorite Halloween film for sure.
I love Scream. That's a great movie.
Feeling a little woozy, man. Yeah, it's fucking great. But Suspiria, it's been a while since we've done a weird ass fucking movie that I've never heard of. So this will be interesting.
I bring them out every 6 months. We had our fun with Robocop. Now we're gonna watch a dour fucking art house movie.
Time to get weird. Oh my god. Okay. No, you're gonna. At least you didn't do Midsummer. As long as you didn't do.
No, I would never.
I can't do Cult. I can't. Like I can, but it'll stick with me in a way where I will become a shell of myself for a few weeks because it will eat at me at the most inconvenient times. Taking a shit. Hey, remember that time those people burned in that building? Hey, taking a shit. Remember that time that guy jumped off the cliff? I don't want to do that. So at least it's going to be, it's like psychological.
Yeah, a little bit. And there's like supernatural forces because it's like witches and shit.
Okay.
There's like choreographed dancing scenes that are very long.
It's saying something because you and your wife definitely take the route of we're watching horror films all month long. And you've rewatched The Northman. You saw The Witch by Robert Eggers as well. You're doing your thing. So if this is something that's sticking out, it's gotta have something to it. But we're about to record a bonus episode for those that are all the way here, still listening to us. We're gonna do Tarantino following this, ranked,
which will probably come out before this episode. Correct. If I had to guess.
But if you've made it this far, go back and listen to that one. But until then, that's all I got to say. Getter, if you could do me the great honors of signing us off.
Adios.